So tell us who you are.
I'm the BCR president.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Do you find it ironic that Berkeley has canceled a free speech event?
Oh,
about
absolutely.
Free speech?
And I just actually got off the phone with Amanda, the former president, who has been helping us book kind of all of the events that we're having. And I sent off her analysis to Aaron, but I thought I'd share that with you right now. But it's blatant discrimination. We've hosted so many events within the past week. Like just on last week Friday, we hosted a atrocities of the CCP event. So we talked about the we had 35,700 people watching our live stream, and so we were able to coordinate everything very, very successfully for that event. And what we saw is as we were changing our room, changing our reservations, they were able to accommodate us perfectly fine. Even days before or weeks before, there was no issue. But when it came to the Peter Boghossian event, what we've seen is blatant discrimination with the fact that this is something that's a little bit more controversial. It's slightly more partisan, but not really. All we're talking about is...
Well, you know that I've never voted for a Republican in my life.
This is a free speech event.
You know that I'm an atheist.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay. And so for them, the moment that we see free speech being brought onto campus and talking about kind of, I think that this entire situation is just so ironic, because your conversation is quite literally about the lack of free speech and freedom of expression that individuals like us have on our campus. And so, what we're experiencing is exactly what you're here to talk about. Right. Which is...
I'm actually not here to talk about anything. I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to listen to what people's experiences are.
The reverse Q&A.
Yeah.
But it is upsetting to see what's happening right now. We set this up weeks in advance. We already got confirmation for this. Then on Friday, we get an email saying, oh, you know what? We're canceling your event because you guys have so many rooms booked in the past, however many weeks, right? Which doesn't really make any sense, because they can't really cancel the event only a few days in advance and just blame the whole thing on...
It's extraordinarily expensive to come here.
Absolutely.
Extremely expensive.
Exactly. And so, that got us really upset. But you say, okay, you know what?
For sure.
We'll fight this later. We got to make sure this event goes on.
Right.
We're going to do everything that we can to ensure the fact that we have this event and that we're able to secure a venue.
Right.
So we actually went through a different RSO group to book the same venue to get it secured. And then we received an email just like an hour ago saying, oh, you know what? Sorry. You guys try to book it within 3 days, so you can't do it. But they let us know within 3 days. It's absolute, complete, utter bullshit. They trapped us. First, they cancel it way too late. They don't give us enough days to rebook it. And then when we try to rebook it, they say, nope, not enough days.
So what are they afraid of?
Free speech. They're afraid of students thinking for themselves.
They're afraid of me listening to people.
And
they're afraid
responding.
of students
No,
calling out the
absolutely.
administration, calling out this culture that we're all aware of on campuses. And I don't know, maybe I'm just an optimist, but my optimistic view on it is just if you think about it, the optics of trying to shut down a free speech event is just so bad that I think all of this is just an intimidation tactic. I don't think they're actually going to be able to go through on trying to prevent the event from happening.
I mean, I personally think that our school is, or not just our school, our culture, excuse me, and schools in general, what our universities have become, they're literally telling us what to think, how to think, what to feel, and how to feel it. And it's the same thing that the media is doing. That's the same thing our universities are doing. We used to be an institution where we would perpetuate this idea where it's important to be a critical thinker, a free thinker, right? And events like this, where you have open conversation, that's where people are able to come together. This is where we prevent things like polarization. This is where we're able to, bring the community together. Right. This is where, we need events like this in order to kind of create a culture where Democrats are okay with being friends with Republicans and vice versa. But the more we create this split, the more we prevent discussions like this from happening, is when we yield extreme polarization, hatred, violence, as you mentioned, because we just don't even give ourselves the opportunity or the chance to understand each other, to relate to each other, to know that, okay, he's a Democrat, but he's also a human. And we have probably a lot in common, because that's what people don't even realize today, is that even though I consider myself someone who's leaning right, I have a lot of similar views as to a lot of my people, or counterparts that are on the left. That's just one of the reasons why discussions like this need to happen, and for a free speech campus or a public university to go out of their way and to cancel an event that does simply that is just, it's abhorrent. people should be up in arms right now. Not just us on the right, not just BCR, but people should look at this and understand that this is a fundamental issue, right? That's not just something wrong with Berkeley in itself as an institution, but they should look at this and see that this is a reflection of our culture. This is what's going to, reflect into the future of America. These students who are absolutely pushing for the cancellation of our event, those are going to be the next leaders of our next biggest companies. They're going to be our next politicians. And so if we don't stand up and try to fight and send a message that we need to have an appreciation of not just diversity of race, but we need to have an appreciation of a diversity of thought. And until we're able to achieve that, we are going to continue to spiral down this route of violence and hatred towards each other, when what we should be doing is healing. What we should do is like bring each other, come together, host dinners together, talk to each other and understand each other. And until we're able to do that, we are going down a deep, dark path.
It's like the most American thing I've ever heard. So we're all in agreement. The show's going to go on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do it.
And even when the show succeeds and we're able to pull this off, the fight's not over. I'm hoping that we can
100%.
partner up on this, and we're getting back in communication with the Dillon Law Group, because I'm not going to let this go. Because I know that I know that they're going to do this over and over and over again, especially because they've seen that we've been booking more meetings, having more events. I hope the school is scared shitless over the fact that we are now starting to reemerge, and we're building ourselves back up.
Yeah, and the thing that the value that you're fighting for and the value that I'm fighting for is identical values.
Absolutely. And we're not even, it's like we come from different religious backgrounds, different, it's very like
Different political backgrounds.
Right. The only thing that we want is just what's best for the people in America, which is
In America,
literally-
that's exactly correct.
which is just simply our guaranteed freedoms. And the fact that we have to be
100%.
fighting for that on a
100%.
free speech campus.
Public university.
Exactly. There's something fundamentally wrong here. And that's why we need speakers like you to come to our campus. I don't even think the school really did a ton of research on you. I think they simply saw the fact that this is an event hosted by Berkeley College Republicans, and just like that, they're just gonna start wiping out our events, taking off our meetings. And that's what we're starting to see. And I'm shocked that that is happening this soon. I thought maybe they'd do this in 2 years from now when things are gonna get really crazy. This is just our building block. We're literally just getting started. We're launching from the ground up.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing. Why shouldn't students listen to what you have to say, listen to the Democrats, listen to the communists, listen to the Greens? Why shouldn't they be able to make up their own minds who they agree with?
Exactly.
But I think there's this kind of fear that we've gotten used to these words, racist, bigot, sexist, etc. to anyone who's even slightly to the other side. And so I think there's this fear that if you even allow someone to voice an opinion on the other side, not only are you going to be casted as a bigot, but it'll also even cause, real harm to other students.
Well, they're completely welcome to come to the event and say that.
Yeah.
Nothing is, not only is nothing preventing them, it's completely, everybody gets a microphone.
Yeah.
So I don't see what the problem would be if they assume they had the truth.
Right. There shouldn't be a problem. There's literally nothing controversial about this event whatsoever, other than the fact that it's hosted by Berkeley College Republicans. But at the core, this event is not heavily controversial at all. It's not partisan.
That's always amazing to me. Like, people say this is such a controversial. What are you talking about? What is controversial about listening to people? What is controversial about listening to students and platforming them about their experiences of an ideology in the classroom? I mean, it could be, I don't know. Could be we got 100 people there and be like, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever.
Now, you yourself don't identify as a Republican.
Correct.
Never voted for a Republican before.
Correct.
By any definition of the word, pretty left-leaning, right? Even myself, pretty liberal, raised in a pretty left-leaning family. And it's just interesting that on all these campuses that you're going to on this tour, it's never the college Democrats that are willing to host these events. It's never any of the left-wing groups that are willing to host it. It's always...
In fact, not only are they not willing to host it,
they're opposed to it.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's only the college Republican groups, Turning Point groups, et cetera, the right-leaning ones.
So
that are willing
here,
to wield.
so you're right. It's interesting. Also, I have a few years on you, and I will tell you this is a recent phenomenon. Before, I don't know, want to give an exact date, but say 2012 or so.
Yeah.
Old guard liberals or leftists like Chomsky or whatever, they'd have no. In fact, they think this was great. Mm-hmm. So there's a kind of a sickness or a rot in the left right now. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is when you point that out, people say, "Well, you're only saying that because you're on the right." That's actually not true. Mm-hmm. That's really not true. Like Berkeley itself was the home of free speech.
Yeah.
Berkeley, I mean, this is it. This is the heart of it, right? And so what we're seeing happen now is a betrayal of those principles.
Yes, absolutely.